Well, hello folks, and welcome back to Tunnel Barn Farm. Today is day 3, the final day of this year's Drennan Winter Pole Champs. Now, the man in shot, most of you will recognise, he features very regularly on this channel, and that is Kristian Jones. Now, Kristian's had a brilliant first 2 days of this festival. He's on 2 section wins, and going into today, he's around about £70 behind the festival leader Danny Keenan on weight. That mainly is because Danny, who's an excellent angler, won his section and the whole match yesterday on house pull with a fantastic weight of £157. So Kristian's had 2 section wins. That still leaves him a little way behind on weight, and the way this festival works, if at the end of it there's multiple anglers tied on the same points, it does go to weight count back, so Kristian will need to catch up that differential. It was a slow start here. We're on extension pool today, and he drew this lake yesterday a little bit further round to the left and caught a low £100 weight. Today it's been a very slow start for everybody on here, or so it seemed. When I first came round, Kristian said he got 6 fish, which was reasonably good on the lake. But obviously, it seemed like the whole place had switched off a little bit compared to yesterday. But I was just about to leave. I was just about to head up to Newpool and see how Steve Parry and Danny Keenan are getting on, because there's a real head-to-head ding-dong going on there. And Kristian decided to try his shallow rig. He went out and he caught a fish straight away. He turned around to me and he said, "I wasn't expecting that." He then proceeded to go back in on the same line, that same line that you see him fishing now, that he's just caught that fish on while we've been filming, and he's caught 4 fairly quickly, and he waited a little bit longer for his 5th and 6th fish, but then he's now on 7 F1s on that line. So the nice thing about those fish as well, all of them on that line look to be a reasonable stamp. They're not the little stocky F1s that some people have been catching over the last couple of days. Look to be the proper old extension F1s, good stamp fish. If Kristian's going to win this festival, which would make him the first person to do the double, to win both the Daiwa Pole Fishing Masters and the Drennan Winter Pole Championship in the same year, if that's going to happen, I think he's going to need this line to carry on working quite well for him. He's definitely going to need, I would think, a ton plus weight today. And also he probably needs to hope that Steve Parry beats Danny Keenan, and that would mean that Steve and Kristian are tied on 3 points, and then maybe, just maybe, Kristian could pip Steve on weight, because the two of them are a little bit closer together. I think from memory Steve's only about £30 in front of Kristian. And that also depends, of course, on that man Andy Bennett over on Housepool not winning his section with a big weight. You'd never want to back against that man. But I will say this: the section that Andy's in has been won both days by the same peg 16. Today there's a brilliant angler on there, John Light's on there, and Andy's also got Paul Holland to contend with on that lake. So it's by no means a guaranteed section win for Andy. He's going to have to work very hard to win that section. That said, it's amazing how often it happens in fishing that stars just line up for people. And if this is going to be Kristian's year, if he's going to do the double, it's certainly not inconceivable that those 2 things I've just described could happen, which all of a sudden would leave Kristian in a very, very strong position, a very, very strong contender to win this event. We'll see. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how Kristian's fishing, because it is a method he's really made his own over this last couple of years. He's fishing on an overshotted shallow rig, one of the RW floats dibbers, 2 white maggots on the hook. And the crux of this method really is just overshotting that rig slightly, and what that does is it helps keep a tight line between, I'm actually going to zoom in on what he's up to there, if I can. How's that? Hopefully you can see that, folks, without being too blurry. The crux of it is the float's ever so slightly overshotted, and that keeps the line between pole tip and the bulk of shot above the hook length dead tight. There is a little bit of waft in between the bulk of shot and the actual hook itself, and that just allows for very natural presentation. But by constantly flicking that pole tip, as Kristian's doing there, he's doing two things. One, he's wafting that hook bait enticingly in those upper layers of the water, but also he's striking all the time as well. He's, in effect, an upward flick would set the hook into any fish that chose to take the bait. I'm going to zoom back out because with that wind it's not the best angle. I'm actually leant against a tree here and the tree's moving slightly. It's a stronger wind than it probably looks to you guys from there. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this pans out, folks. I'm just having a message come through from Gary, my partner in crime on the coverage of this event. He's told me that Mark Miller on house balls got over £40 already, and that Alan Scawthorne on peg 1 on new pool is also bagging. So I'm going to sign off from this. I'm going to head round and see those two anglers, get a couple of Facebook lives on. Obviously I can't stay with the same angler all day, but listen, that's another fish for Kristian. Not as rapid as the first 2 or 3 that he had, and as you can see on this video, he's actually made a little tactical change on that, switched I think to a deeper rig. I could be wrong on that, but either way, I've only been filming for 6 minutes 48 seconds, and in that time Kristian's had 2 nice stamp F1s, so he's well in the race, certainly leading the section by some way from what I can see, and if things keep going his way, he could be the first person ever to do the double. Let's hope it goes his way.